Hello, I'm Chris Proudfoot. Today I am doing an investigative speech on Nellie Bly. Nellie Bly was one of the first female investigative journalists. She wrote many articles in the late 1800s and the early 1900s. Born Elizabeth Cochran in Cochran's Mill, Pittsburgh in 1864, she went by the pen name Nellie Bly. Nellie, at the age of 16, got her first job as a columnist. When she read an article, a sexist article depicting women needed to be in the home, she wrote an angry letter to the editor of the Pittsburgh Dispatch. The editor loved her letter so much that he offered her a job. In 1880, she started writing a woman's column. This column was about female fashion, women in the home place, and gardening. Convinced that she wanted to do stunt journalism, which was undercover journalism at the time, she went to the editor and asked if she can do investigational work. There, she started writing about human trafficking, women's struggles in the workplace, the effects on divorce on women at the time. But the editors of the newspaper continued to want her to write about her women column. So Nellie, wanting to do investigative reporting, went to Mexico. There in Mexico, she was able to write about the food, the culture, and even wrote about the corruption in the Mexican government. Once the Mexican government got wind of it, they told her, you either leave the country or you're going to prison. She was back in Pittsburgh within 6 months. Shortly after moving back to Pittsburgh, they wanted her to continue writing her female column. Nellie wanted to do investigational work, so off to New York she was. Within days of making it to New York, she took a job doing stunt at the New York World with editor Joseph Pulitzer. Joseph came up to her and said, how would you like to get yourself committed into a sane asylum and do a report on the abuse going on in the asylum? It was a lot easier for her to get committed than it was for her to be released. Nellie took temporary home in a shelter for women on New York's 2nd Avenue. There, she found the most insane person she could and started imitating her. Within days, the women's shelter's manager reported her to the police. The police came and took her before Judge Daffy, who ordered her to the Bellevue Hospital for the Insane. Within days of going to Bellevue Hospital, she was committed to the whole act. Started telling all the psychiatrists that she was sane and she was just a reporter. There they thought she was more insane for acting like an insane person. It took her 10 days to get released, and Joseph Pulitzer, an attorney, had to come and get her. Just 2 days after her release, on October 9th, 1887, she wrote her first article in the New York World. It was called Behind Asylum's Bars. The story painted such a broad picture of the abuse going on in the asylum, the cold baths, the isolation, the patients being abused, locked in rooms, wet, cold rooms with bug infested, that the neglect and the abuse that was happening to the patients caused New York to set a full investigation with the help of Nellie Bly. DA Vernon M. Davis and Nellie Bly changed how the asylums function after that. There was $1 million a year allocated to changing the abuse. There was all the nurses and doctors involved in the abuse were fired and replaced. Supervision was upgraded so that there would be more help for the patients in the asylum. I could never spend 10 days there. I don't know about you. Nellie went on to write more more stunt investigative journalism. She did, in 1889, Bly traveled around the world in 72 days. She did that for two reasons. One, she wanted to show that women can travel without men, and two, she wanted to beat the record by the book Julius Vere's Around the World in 80 Days. Nellie also was a correspondent in the Eastern Front during World War I, and she uncovered multiple poor conditions for women factory workers. Unfortunately, Nellie only lived to the age of 57, but in that short time, she lived more than most of us will ever live. Nellie was a great inspiration, and I was glad to learn about her. Thank you.